Let me tell you about our next speaker. Her name is Mindie Kniss. She left a Fortune 100 company to become an entrepreneur 4 years ago. She's the winner of the Global Health Fellowship in Africa for her work with women and children in developing countries. She co-authored a best-selling book called Wake Up Woman. And Mindie is going to be talking about the art of being fully present. This is an important criteria for Blisscipline. Give it up for Mindie Kniss.
Hey, you guys, I am super excited to be here, and it's such an honor to share the stage with so many amazing speakers. What I want to tell you about today is something that has changed my life, revolutionized my life, and it's something that I continue to work on. What it is, oh, whoops, I didn't know that first one was on. Mindfulness, being present right here, right now. Mindfulness. What is mindfulness? What it does for me as an entrepreneur, as a daughter, as a friend, as a partner, in my business, in my life, in my health, in my fitness, in everything, what it does for me is it brings me center, it brings me present, and it lets me be an active, conscious participant in my own life. Where did mindfulness come from? The foundations of mindfulness. If you're anything like me, and I assume many of you are in this room, you're probably a Renaissance thinker. You're interested in very many different topics and love to study, learn, understand the ways of the world. So mindfulness is actually a compilation of psychology. So we have the social sciences, neurology or brain study, which is the science, and then the contemplative practice. So we have the spirituality that brings it together. Mindfulness for me is mostly experienced rock climbing. And that may be different for you, but I want to tell you a story about what it's like for me as a climber. I'm a lot shorter than a lot of the people that I climb with. So oftentimes, if there's a hold or a reach somewhere up here, they're like, oh yeah, just grab it, no problem. Well, right, that's a little bit further than my arm reaches or my leg reaches too. So what I need to do when I'm rock climbing is sometimes, and this could be, I may already be tired. I may already be on the rock, arms shaking, muscles are tense and tired. Maybe some of you have experienced that. And then to get up to that next hold, it takes every ounce of concentration, attention, focus that I have, and pure presence in my body, because I know that I need these legs to propel me up here. I need these fingers to be ready to grasp onto that next hold and grab it and hold me up so I don't fall down. It's actually saved my life. I was in almost a big accident in Colorado a number of years ago, rock climbing. My friends and I had gone camping and then didn't get up early enough the next day to get back to work in time. So instead of hike back up around this mountain the way that we came down, we said, we'll just climb back up, no problem. We had no ropes. We had big backpacks with sleeping bags. And we said, no worries, we're good. This was in college. So we decided to climb up, and partially up this face of the rock, probably 100 feet up, there's a point where I just can't get to the next hold. These two guys are a lot bigger than me. Oh, just step over, no problem. I said, you guys, I can't reach that. So I essentially was stuck where I was. So much so that one foot's out here, one foot's out here, one arm's here, and I can't move. And these guys are both ahead of me. And I'm thinking, oh great, I'm getting tired. My muscles are starting to tremble. What am I going to do? Thankfully, with the power of attention, the power of mindfulness, I was able to, thankfully with my friends' help, I should say, and their mindfulness in getting me up over where I was, at the last second, my foot is slipping, rock by rock. I can feel the rocks tumbling down underneath my foot. At the last moment, he grabs my wrist and just yanks me up on top of him. If he hadn't done that, I probably would have been dead at the bottom of that cliff. But it was mindfulness, it was attention to detail, it was focus and centeredness that got me up over there. What is the opposite of mindfulness? Mindlessness. Mindlessness is basically autopilot. And so many of us experience that all the time. We may be driving to work, and we get there and we think, wow, I don't even remember the stoplights or the streets or the anything, because we do it every single day. We go and go and go on autopilot. There's so many aspects of our lives that can be more vivid and more fulfilling if we choose the mindfulness route as opposed to mindlessness. I'll give you a story quickly of mindlessness from my own life. This was very recently. I was traveling with my boyfriend and his father, and we had been on our trip on the plane. It was a long day of travel. Got back to Chicago. All we want to do is get in the car, go home, go to bed. Well, you know, we get out of the plane like normal, grab our bags, no problem, get in the car. I open up my backpack to reach in to get my purse, to get my lip balm or whatever I needed at the time, and suddenly, oh shit, no purse. I had left my purse underneath the seat in front of me where you put your things on the airplane, and we were already in the car on the way home. So what to do? We go back in, try and talk to somebody. There's nobody that can help us. The crew has already gone home. It was late at night. Lost and Found was not going to open for 3 more days till Tuesday, wherever that is. So I'm thinking, great, my keys, my wallet, my everything essentially that I need is all in that bag. What had happened was I was completely being mindless. I was just tired. I was concerned about just getting home and going to bed and being done with this trip. If I would have been mindful, I would have been paying attention to what was going on around me. I would have been paying attention to my things that I could have collected, and then it wouldn't have been a problem. So that's an example. Maybe you have some too in your lives. What are the elements of mindfulness? There's a couple people that have really promoted this idea of mindfulness, and Ellen Langer is one. This comes from her book called Mindfulness. Another is Jon Kabat-Zinn. You may have heard of him because he's taken mindfulness and brought it into the hospital setting, doing amazing things with people's health and stress reduction. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. What Ellen Langer says, that these are the 3 elements or the qualities of mindfulness: creation of new categories, openness to new information, and awareness of more than one perspective. So sometimes you can think of that as having stereotypes. Oh, all of this type of people do this certain thing. Well, how often is that true? Never. An example that I have from Africa, my work in Kenya, they tended to think, my friends there that knew me, they tended to think that all white people, or especially white Americans, were rich. And I'm saying, no, that's not true. There's certainly plenty of people in America, plenty of white people that are not. There's plenty of poverty in America. So it's not necessarily a sense of naivety. If they just didn't know that, and then I shared that with them, and it's, oh, okay, I understand, that's mindfulness. But what I'm talking about is they refuse to believe it. No, Mindie, all white people are rich. Okay, you know, there's no sense of give in their mind. I want to take you through a little bit of an experience. You may have heard the term mindfulness meditation. And while it can be an actual meditation, sitting or standing or walking or doing anything, this is just a very simple exercise that we've all been gifted with all the tools that we need. So if you would like to close your eyes, if that will help you focus more, go ahead and do that. You don't have to if that's uncomfortable. What I would love for you to do is just relax. Let your shoulders drop. Take a couple deep breaths. And just start to feel your body. What we're doing is going through the 5 senses. So first off, what do you hear? The obvious answer is, well, I hear you talking, Mindie. I hear your voice. But what else do you hear? Do you hear the whirring of a fan? Dishes clinking in the back of the room? Maybe your neighbor sitting next to you is shifting in their seat? Just take a moment and listen. Next, what do you taste? Maybe you have gum in your mouth, or a cough drop, or maybe it's the aftertaste of something that you ate at lunch. Just become really conscious of your mouth, your tongue, your saliva, and the taste. Next is, what do you smell? Take a deep inhalation. Maybe you smell fabric softener from your clothing. Maybe you smell your perfume or cologne or that of a neighbor sitting by you. Next is, what do you feel? And I don't mean what do you feel in terms of happy, sad. I mean in terms of your sense of touch. Maybe you feel the weight of your body on the chair. Feel the temperature of this room, which is pretty chilly. Feel the clothing on your body. Just notice what it feels like. Is it soft? Is it rough? Is it scratchy? Mindfulness is really just about paying attention and noticing. And finally, what do you see? And anytime I do this, a lot of people open their eyes because they assume, well, I need to open my eyes to see. But for those of you with your eyes still closed, just notice what you notice. Maybe it's darkness on the back of your eyelids. Maybe there's some flashes of light. For those of you with your eyes open, look around, see what you see. I want you to take another deep breath in. And on the exhalation, notice the top of your lip, just how your breath feels coming out of your nose. Okay, now you all can open your eyes. And I want you to take a look around the room. Begin to notice the bright colors. We're in Costa Rica. There's so many vibrant colors. Look at the colors of the chairs, the colors of the outfits that your friends are wearing in this room, the detail on the carpet, the ornateness of the carvings around the wall, the chandelier, the lights. Begin to pay attention to the details. What you'll experience if you practice this is that often if you walk out into the world, it's easier in here because we're all just in this enclosed capacity, closed space. But walking out there, everything becomes a little bit more vivid. And I'm not talking about just in terms of sight, tastes, smells, sounds. It's this vividness, this richness that we can experience in our lives. Think about how easy this would be to use before any situation where you're feeling a little bit stressed or just a little bit uncertain about how things are going to go, before a business meeting, before interacting with your children when there's been some issue that's come up in the family. If you take just a couple minutes, just go through your 5 senses, what that does is it centers you within your body. It brings you into the present. Couple tips if you want to begin to practice this on a daily basis, and I use that term very deliberately. It is a practice. As I said, I just left my purse on a plane not that long ago, and I've been learning about this stuff and teaching this stuff for years. So it's an everyday practice. The more conscious we are of doing it, the easier it becomes, though it becomes more simple. First is slow down. We are a culture of constant rush. There's always places to hurry to. And what was so amazing for me when I was living in Africa was they have this concept of African time. I know that exists in some of Latin America as well. It's like you get there when you get there. And I loved that. Because really, what is the rush? Talk less. We've learned a lot in the last few days about connecting and how there's a balance in terms of who's talking and who's listening. But a lot of times, we simply blabber on, and that doesn't need to happen as much as it does. Reduce multitasking. If you can focus on one project at a time, just one thing at a time, not only are you going to do that more efficiently, more effectively, you're going to do it faster, and then you can move on to the next thing. So if you can reduce some of the multitasking in your life, that will help. Focus on the breath. The breath is one of the most amazing tools that we have to reconnect our mind to our heart. And finally, if you want to, you can use routine events such as the phone ringing or going to the bathroom as a trigger to remind you to pay attention, to notice the details. One example of noticing the details that's often used is washing dishes. People say, oh, well, why do you need to wash the dishes? Well, so you have clean dishes, right? Well, Thich Nhat Hanh, who is a famous Vietnamese Buddhist monk, said, no, you need to wash the dishes to wash the dishes. What he meant by that was, enjoy the experience. So next time you're washing the dishes, notice the curvature of the glass in your hand, how that feels. Smell the soap, see the frothy bubbles in the sink, notice the temperature of the water, and just use it as an activity to just pay attention. And I was having a conversation with Brent last night about this talk, and he said, well, isn't mindfulness like in everything? Can't you do it all the time? I said, yeah, that's exactly the point. You can, but that doesn't mean that it's easy. So we can use tools like these, or washing the dishes, just as reminders to ourselves to make it a little bit easier. But so what? What's the big picture? How is this going to affect you and your life in the grander scheme? I want to tell you about how an elephant is trained. Some of you may have heard this before. But when elephants are captured in the wild in Asia to be trained either for domestic work purposes or circus or anything, they're tied, and you can see in this photo, this elephant is tied up to a stake that's in the ground, or sometimes it's a tree, something big enough that they can't, as a young, small elephant, pull it out. They're not given food, they're not given water, and most often, I don't know if this happens as much anymore, but they're often beaten as well. The point is for them to learn helplessness, to learn submission to their master, to whoever it is that's training them. How are we like these elephants? Because often there's a rope around our leg that looks like our limiting beliefs, and we're stuck. We're stuck in them. Here's what happens when that elephant grows up. All the trainer has to do, if there's an elephant walking, he's free right now, the trainer comes up, places a rope around his leg, throws the rope over there. He doesn't tie it to a stake, he doesn't drive it into the ground, he doesn't tie it to a tree. And yet the elephant assumes that he's stuck. And how often do we do that with our thoughts, with our beliefs about ourselves, about our potential? How often are we, like this elephant, stuck in something that we are assuming to be true, when really the rope isn't tied to anything? There is no limitation for what we can do. And this crowd of people has a lot of great things going on. There's so much work to do. There's so much potential in this room alone, let alone with everybody else that we know. And what are you going to do? If you use mindfulness, you can stay in the present moment. Because here's what comes up a lot. If you look at things like depression or anxiety that often keep people back from pursuing their dreams or doing whatever it is that they're wanting to be doing, depression is thinking about something in the past that happened, sad or traumatic event, and bringing it up into the present, feeling it, experiencing it right now, even though it's not going on right now. Anxiety is just the opposite. It's projecting, what if this happens in the future? Oh my gosh, how scary, but we're experiencing it right now. So if we get into the right now centeredness, grounded, heart-focused lifestyle, there is no option for depression or anxiety because we're living our lives from this powerful place. This is more like what we can be: free, powerful, strong, and ready to rock the world. This quote comes from Buddha's Brain, a recent book, came out last year by Rick Hansen and Richard Mendius. It's only in the present moment that we find real happiness, love, or wisdom. And that is what I want for you. That is what I want you to be able to take away from this talk and just say, cool, there's 5 things that I already have in my body, 5 tools, 5 senses that I can use at any point in time to get back to this. And automatically, within that moment, that's where happiness, love, and wisdom reside. Thank you.